Hi guys, me again. We're just going to run through business and the law because this was an area that we had some problems with. Again, a little bit like customer service and specifically consumer protection, it's just a very general understanding that you have to have, you're supposed to have, in terms of how businesses have to be mindful of the law and be aware of the existence of laws, but no one's expected to be an expert. Particularly not you, age 15/16. So as long as you have a general idea, that's absolutely fine. So the specific names of the pieces of legislation and the dates and so on, that's over and above what you need. So it's just a general gist. So we'll run through that. Okay, so you're going to find out about these different things like an understanding of the legal responsibilities of employers and the staff. So equal pay, minimum wage, discrimination, that actually covers most of it. Okay, discrimination, health and safety are really the two most important. And look, here we are again, just the sort of caveat that I will state at the start. You just need a broad understanding of how such laws can affect small businesses. And that's supposed to be a goal. Learning goals. Anyway, apologies, very cheesy. Okay, what's a law? It's a rule made by the government to determine how society behaves. Okay, yeah. How our businesses affect discrimination. Very, very important. And obviously in Northern Ireland, we're experts at discriminating against people for all sorts of reasons. Age is a relatively recent means of discrimination or grounds for discrimination or allegations of discrimination being made. It didn't used to be. You used to be able to say, for example, in a job advertisement, people over 50 need not apply, or applicants need to be over 25, and now that's illegal, which is a good thing probably. It should all be on merit. Okay. Age Discrimination Act. Okay, ignore my daft pictures, but Age Discrimination Act, which was brought in 2006, which really is not that long ago. It's illegal to discriminate on the basis of age. What a surprise. And protects old and young people. So you are as much affected as perhaps your parents or grandparents. I'm not saying your parents are old, but you know what I mean. Okay. There, yeah, you've got an article, you've got a hard copy of that, so you can look through it for a bit of revision if you want. Disability Discrimination Act doesn't mean everyone's in a wheelchair. I don't know. I was just trying to find a graphic. Okay, so basically, it's not saying that every single service provider, business, public sector organization has to have, for example, a lift, has to have emergency lighting for people who are partially sighted and that sort of thing. Although, to be honest, in most public buildings, all that stuff's taken care of now. But it does mean that you should take all reasonable steps. Now, what is reasonable action? This is where the lawyers come in and make their money. Because what's reasonable in my eyes might be very different in the eyes of the court. Or in the eyes against, maybe if I employed somebody, if they were taking legal action against me, they may feel they've been discriminated against on the grounds of disability. So, you know, it really depends on the individual person and how they interpret what reasonable is. So, for example, maybe a small travel agency, maybe it's 4 or 5 staff, and someone who has mobility problems applies for a job working in the travel agency, and they're very capable and they should be the best person for the job, but the employer doesn't hire them because it would require a lift to be installed, sort of retrofitted to an old building, at a cost of £100,000. Now, you might say, well, you know, that's objectionable because you should fit the lift and let the person work there. But it may be catastrophic for the survival of that business and for the jobs that business creates for the other existing staff. Because you could argue that, well, hold on, that's not reasonable, because if we only generate £400,000 a year in revenue, we've got to pay our staff out of that, pay all our costs, rent, rates, insurance, etc., etc., and we can't afford to spend 100 grand on a lift. So, you know, the court might rule that is reasonable or not. It's up to the court, and that's the whole point. You have to be seen to take all reasonable steps to ensure you're not discriminating on the grounds of disability. Part-time staff used to get paid less per hour, believe it or not, full-time staff. So pro rata, they got a lower rate per hour. So, for example, if you got paid £6.50 an hour, say working in Tesco's or something, they pay more than that, by the way. But let's say, for example, a part-time person might only have got £5 an hour, even though they were doing the same job as you, just because they were part-time and you were full-time. Also, part-time staff used to get fired first. They used to have less rights in terms of longevity and retention. That's all changed now since 2000. Maternity leave. This is a bit of a hot potato, so if any mums are watching this, please don't get cross with me, because I'm just reporting what is, the case. I'm not stating a personal opinion. So what is maternity leave, first of all? Time off to give birth and look after a baby. Okay, if you didn't know that, well, I can't help you. How long? It's usually 52 weeks is standard, right? For the first 6 weeks, you have to pay your employee standard maternity pay, which is a weekly rate equivalent to 90% of their average weekly earnings. Now, to be honest, I got into too much detail with this. Look, the money can be recovered. The problem with maternity pay is not that the person doesn't deserve it. I have 3 children, so I can't complain about maternity pay or anything like that. It would be totally hypocritical of me, and I don't have any moral issue with it. But I think the problem for most small businesses is that they have to pay it up front, and then they reclaim it from HMRC, Her Majesty Revenues and Customs, Revenue and Customs. And that is a cash flow issue for most small firms, and it's also probably disruptive as well, because you get a very valuable member of staff who goes off to have a baby, and then you've got to replace them for that limited period of time. Now, you might be able to replace them with someone who's very capable, but it's hard to get people who are really capable and committed if they know they're only going to be there for the duration of 1 year and then leave again, because the person on maternity pay will come back after having the baby. So I can understand that for a small business it's problematic. Morally desirable, yes. Problematic, sometimes. Now, if you ask this chap, Alan Sugar, he is very bullish about the impact that maternity pay and maternity leave has on small businesses. Okay, for the reasons that I just talked about. But I mean, his opinions are not my opinions. I just wanted to get a bit of a chit chat going with the class at the time. Okay, health and safety. Moving on to less controversial ground. Health and safety. Make sure workers return home as healthy as when they arrive at work. Now, most accidents that happen at work in the UK, about 700 people, unfortunately, every year, are killed at work, which is very undesirable. Most of those people, I'm sad to say, are injured or killed in the construction industry or in manufacturing. So you've got heavy machinery, you've got the potential for falls from heights. Well, in manufacturing, obviously the machinery is the big problem more than anything. But, it's really not good for business not taking care of your staff. Again, apologies for the graphic. I'm not trying to upset anyone. Positive discrimination. That just really means showing that you are recruiting or promoting people from groups which have been underrepresented. Now, we see that in Northern Ireland very much. We've heard about that in the police service of Northern Ireland. It has been controversial. Not everyone agrees with it, but that has gone on to try to address the imbalance in terms of the profile of the police service of Northern Ireland against the backdrop of the population of Northern Ireland. So I don't want to get into that too much because I don't have strong feelings, but you can draw your own decisions. Okay, so what is an industrial tribunal? It's really just an employment court. Okay, if you feel that you have been discriminated against, you can take your case to an industrial tribunal. John McCrarick felt that he had been discriminated against when he was fired by Channel 4 a number of years ago. He used to be, for those of you who don't know who this strange looking chap is, he was a very well known pundit on the Channel 4 racing program, which covers horse racing every weekend. I don't know, I can't remember what happened. I think he won his case and got a payout, but you can Google it if you're not sure. Legal issue, other stuff. So really, discrimination, health and safety, those are the key issues. And make sure you're not discriminating against your staff in any way, in terms of who you recruit, in terms of who you promote, in terms of who you retain, in terms of how much you pay them. Other legal, sorry, and then the other thing was, yeah, and make sure you take care of them, make sure they don't injure themselves at work. Other legal issues, taxation, have insurance. If you don't have liability insurance and someone injures themselves on your premises, whether they're an employee, a passerby, or whatever, a supplier delivering stuff to your business, you can have big issues, and most firms have several £1 million worth of public liability for that reason. Taxation, yes, very important. Not paying your VAT, for example, can lead to jail time, so you've got to be careful with that. And then recovering money from either people who, customers who haven't paid you, for example, you may have to take them small claims court, that sort of thing. Yeah, you can look through these. I don't need to explain them. Same. Yeah, same. Okay, so that's kind of it. So now you know legal responsibilities of employers, so equal pay, minimum wage laws. You can look up minimum wage yourself. All you need to do is Google minimum wage and the Low Pay Commission will pop up as the first term in your Google search bar. And you can just click on that and see what the relevant pay rates are, minimum pay rates are for different age groups. Okay, discrimination is important for employers, and also then obviously the staff's health and safety. But again, just a caveat just before we shut this down is that you just need to have a broad understanding of these things. If you remember the terms discrimination, health and safety, that pretty much covers the whole lot. Okay, so if you've got an article and you're being asked about what's wrong with this advert now of the law, then there'll be some kind of discriminatory term on the basis of age or whatever in there that you could pick out and write about.